"Thanks for keeping my family warm while I was gone," her ex said, grinning, while my girlfriend didn't deny it, just looked at the flowers he brought. I accepted that and tried to be a good stepdad anyway. But I realized I was never the problem. I was just the backup plan. I am Connor, 32, been working as an electrical engineer in Denver for about 8 years now, never been married. No kids, but I have always wanted a family. When I met Jessica, 29, on a dating app last year, I thought I would hit the jackpot. Single mom, marketing assistant, beautiful smile, and her profile said she was looking for stability for me and my daughter. Jessica seemed perfect at first. Our first few dates, she talked about wanting a healthy relationship and being done with drama. She had just gotten out of what she called a complicated marriage 2 years ago. Her daughter, Mia, was 8, and Jessica said she had never had a positive male role model. I was ready for an instant family, so this felt like fate. The first couple months were amazing. I took them to the zoo, movies, mini golf. Mia seemed to love having a guy around who actually paid attention to her. I would read her bedtime stories, help with homework, teach her to throw a football in the backyard. Jessica was so grateful. "You are exactly what we needed," she would tell me. Mia's never had someone treat her this well. I was careful not to rush into the father role too fast. I told Jessica, "I want to be whatever Mia needs. Friend first, maybe more later." I started paying for groceries, helping with bills, taking them out every weekend. It felt natural, like we were becoming a real family. Then Father's Day rolled around. I suggested maybe we could do something low-key, just a family dinner at home. That is when Mia exploded. "You are not my dad. You will never be my dad. My real daddy is the only daddy I want." She was screaming, tears streaming down her face. It broke my heart, but I understood. I knelt down and said, "You are absolutely right, sweetie. I am just Connor. I am not trying to replace anyone." Jessica apologized afterward. "I am so sorry." She is still processing the divorce. Derek was complicated, but she misses him. Give her time. She will come around. I figured that was normal. Kids need time to adjust. So I backed off from any fatherly activities and focused on just being mom's friend. But I kept helping financially, daycare, clothes, activities. Jessica was always appreciative. "You are so understanding," she would say. Derek never was. But here is the thing. The pattern kept getting worse. Anytime I would try to give Mia guidance about anything, it was "you are not my dad." If we did family activities, she would bring up how her real daddy used to do things better. I would buy her a nice toy, and she'd compare it unfavorably to some cheap gift Derek had given her months ago. Jessica never defended my role or set boundaries. She always validated Mia's loyalty to Derek. The mixed signals from Jessica started getting confusing too. In public, she would say, "Connor's been amazing. He is what we needed." But in private conversations, I would catch her saying things like, "Sometimes I wonder if I am being fair to Derek, or maybe I should give him another chance for Maya's sake." When I would remind her that he hit her multiple times, she would get defensive. That was different. He was going through things. Then Derek started showing up. First time was about 4 months into our relationship. He came by drunk, demanding visitation. There was supposedly a restraining order, but Jessica panicked and let him see Mia anyway. "I cannot deny her father," she told me when I questioned it. After those visits, Mia would be extra hostile toward me. "My daddy says you are trying to replace him," she would tell me. "My daddy says my mommy still loves him." The financial reality was getting ridiculous too. Derek paid maybe $200 a month in child support, usually late. I was covering daycare, clothes, groceries, weekend activities, easily $1,500 plus monthly. But whenever Derek would show up with some $20 toy from the gas station, Mia would act like he had given her the world. "My daddy buys me better presents," she would say about my carefully chosen gifts that cost 10 times more. Jessica kept defending it. "You don't understand. He is her father. Blood is different than whatever this is." That stung. After almost 6 months together, supporting them financially and emotionally, I was still just whatever this is. But what I discovered 6 months in changed everything I thought I knew about this situation. What happened next made me realize I was never fighting for stepdad position. I was just keeping the seat warm until her abuser came back. Update 1. Sorry for the delay updating. Had to help my buddy Jake move this weekend, and honestly needed time to process what happened. The comments on my original post really opened my eyes. A lot of you said Jessica was still emotionally attached to her ex, and holy shit, you guys were right. So last Friday night was the first time I stayed overnight at Jessica's place. We had been together 6 months, but she always said she wanted to take things slow because of Mia. I respected that. Around 11 p.m., I got up to grab some water from the kitchen. As I walked past Mia's room, I heard Jessica's voice. The door was cracked open, and I figured she was just doing final tuck and stuff. But then I heard what she was actually saying, and I froze in the hallway. I know you miss Daddy, baby. Mommy misses him too. My blood ran cold. Then it got worse. Sometimes I wonder if we made the right choice leaving him. He wasn't always angry. Remember when he was nice? Mia asked. Will Daddy come home? I want him to come home. And Jessica, the woman I thought I was building a future with, said, Connor's nice, but he is not your real family. Real families have mommies and daddies who belong together. Maybe someday Daddy will get better and come back. But until then, we have to be nice to Connor. I stood there in that dark hallway, feeling like someone had punched me in the gut. She was actively sabotaging any chance I had of being a father figure to Mia. She was teaching her daughter that I was just a temporary placeholder. Even worse, she was rewriting history about Derek's abuse. The conversation continued, and it got more twisted, Jessica said. Remember how Daddy used to make us laugh? Mia, bless her heart, said. But Daddy used to yell and make you cry. And Jessica actually said, that was just stress, baby. Deep down he loves us. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes when they are sad. I wanted to burst in there and scream. This woman was teaching her 8-year-old daughter that domestic violence was just mistakes and stress. She was romanticizing the abuse and keeping Mia hoping for a reunion with her abuser. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Jessica acted completely normal. Made breakfast, kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me. But Mia was extra cold to me, just like she always was after those bedtime conversations that I now realized had been happening for months. I started paying attention to things I had missed before. Jessica's phone, she had Derek's number saved under Mia's dad. But I noticed she had been texting him way more than just custody stuff. Her photo album still had wedding pictures prominently displayed. Her wedding ring on a necklace. In Mia's room, there were framed photos. I did something I am not proud of. I checked her Instagram when she was in the shower. Her recent posts included shit like, missing my family tonight, with throwback photos of her Derek, and Mia labeled, my loves. In the comments, her friends were encouraging her. Derek's really trying to change, one said. Maybe give him another chance. Another, Mia needs her father. I realized I wasn't just naive about their relationship. I was a fucking idiot. Jessica's entire friend group knew about her ongoing obsession with Derek. They all saw me as the verbound guy. Not a serious relationship. I was the stable income and emotional support while she waited for her abuser to get better. When I tried to bring it up gently, suggesting we needed to talk about boundaries with her ex, Jessica flipped it on me. Derek's not the problem. You are being insecure. She actually suggested I needed therapy for my jealousy issues. When I told her I would overheard the bedtime conversation, she said she was just comforting her daughter. You don't understand what it is like to be a mother, she said. Sometimes kids need to process their feelings. I asked her point blank, are you still in love with Derek? She couldn't even look me in the eye when she said no. That is when I started seriously considering walking away. But before I could make that decision, Derek forced the issue in a way I never saw coming. I was driving over to Jessica's after work when I saw a familiar pic. My stomach dropped. Derek was back, and this time Jessica had invited him inside. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, trying to decide what to do. Then I saw him through the window, sitting on the couch with Mia on his lap, while Jessica brought him a beer. I walked in with my key, and the look on Derek's face was pure smug satisfaction. Oh hey, he said, not moving from the couch. "You must be the babysitter Jessica mentioned." Mia giggled. Jessica looked panicked but didn't correct him. Derek had flowers on the coffee table. Cheap grocery store roses. Jessica kept glancing at them like they were a goddamn engagement ring. "Derek's been doing really well," she told me, like she owed him some explanation. "He has been sober for 30 days. "That is great," I said, my voice completely flat. "And why exactly is he here?" Derek answered before Jessica could. "Just visiting my family. Figured it was time to see how my girls are doing." My girls, he called them his girls. Right in front of me, and Jessica didn't say a fucking word. Mia was clinging to Derek, like he was a war hero returning home. "Daddy, are you coming home? Please don't leave again." Derek looked right at me when he answered. "We will see, princess. Depends on mommy." Jessica was melting. I could see it in her eyes. She was seriously considering letting this piece of shit back into their lives. That is when Derek delivered the line that made everything crystal clear. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Thanks for keeping my family warm while I was gone. I can take it from here." And Jessica, the woman I had been supporting and loving for 6 months, told me to leave. "Connor, maybe you should go. This is confusing for Mia." I realized in that moment that I never had a chance. I was never competing for a stepfather position. I was just the stability she needed while she waited for her abuser to decide he wanted his family back. And now that he was back with flowers and 30 days sober, I was being discarded like I never mattered. What I did next surprised even me. And Derek's reaction told me everything I needed to know about who these people really were. Update 2. All right. So, I have been getting tons of messages asking what happened next. Had to deal with some work drama this week. But here is the continuation. And yeah, some of you guessed correctly about what I did. Standing in that living room, looking at Derek smirking at me while holding his daughter, with Jessica asking me to leave my own relationship, something snapped. Not in an angry way, but more like a moment of absolute clarity. These people had been playing me for months, and I was done being anyone's backup plan. I looked at Derek and said, "You know what? You are absolutely right. This is your family." Then I turned to Jessica. "And you are right too. This is confusing for Mia. It is confusing for everyone when someone chooses their abuser over someone who actually loves them." Derek's face changed real quick. "Hey now, that is not abuse when you put your hands on the mother of your child, multiple times? Or is 30 days sober supposed to erase all that?" Jessica jumped up. "Connor, don't. Not in front of Mia." "Oh, now. You are worried about what Mia hears. Because I heard what you tell her every night about missing Daddy and how he wasn't really that bad." Jessica went white as a sheet. Derek stood up, putting Mia down. "I think you need to leave, buddy." I laughed, actually laughed. "Buddy, I have been paying for your daughter's daycare, clothes, food, and everything else, while you have been playing deadbeat dad. I have been more of a father to her in 6 months than you have been in 8 years. But you are right, I am leaving." I grabbed my keys and wallet, then looked at Jessica one last time. "When he hits you again, and he will, because 30 days sober doesn't fix whatever's broken in him, don't call me. When he disappears again in 2 weeks, because playing house gets boring, don't text me. When you are struggling to pay bills because your baby daddy spent his paycheck on beer instead of child support, don't ask me for help. Connor, please. Number, you made your choice. You chose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. You chose someone who hurts you over someone who loves you. That is your right. But I will not be around to pick up the pieces anymore." Mia was crying now, confused about why I was leaving. I knelt down to her level one last time. "Take care of yourself, kiddo. I hope your daddy treats you better than he treated your mom." Derek didn't like that. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "It means your daughter is going to grow up thinking it is normal for men to hit women unless someone teaches her different. But hey, that is not my problem anymore." I walked out, and I didn't look back. Jessica followed me outside. "You are being dramatic. People can change. He is trying." I stopped at my car. "Jessica, in 6 months, I never once raised my voice at you. Never called you names. Never made you walk on eggshells. Never laid a hand on you in anger. I supported you financially and emotionally. I was patient with your daughter even when she rejected me. I respected your boundaries and your timeline. If that is not enough to compete with 30 days of sobriety from a man who used to beat you, then we want different things." She started crying. "I do love you, but he is Mia's father. And I could have been too if you would let me. Instead, you sabotaged that relationship from day one because you never moved on from him." I got in my car. "I hope it works out the way you think it will. I really do." I drove straight to my buddy Jake's house and told him everything. Jake wanted to drive back over there and kick Derek's ass, but I talked him down. "The best revenge is moving on and being happy," I told him. That weekend, I blocked Jessica on everything: phone, social media, email, complete no contact. For about 2 weeks, I wondered if I had made a mistake. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe I should have fought harder. Then my friend who works at the police department texted me a news article link. Derek had been arrested for domestic violence again, not against Jessica, against his new girlfriend. Turns out he had been dating someone else the entire time he was trying to win his family back. Jessica found out when the cops called her for a character reference. That is when she started trying to contact me again. Texts, emails, even showing up at my work. "I made a huge mistake," she kept saying. "You were right about him. He never changed. Can we talk?" I didn't respond to any of it. Because here is the thing. It wouldn't have mattered if Derek had actually changed. The problem was never really Derek. The problem was that Jessica was so trauma-bonded to her abuser that she couldn't recognize healthy love when it was right in front of her. She was so addicted to the chaos of that toxic relationship that my stability felt boring. I started going to therapy to make sure I didn't carry any of this baggage into my next relationship. My therapist helped me understand trauma bonds and why some people choose the familiar pain of toxic relationships over the unknown territory of healthy ones. She also helped me recognize the red flags I had missed. The truth is, I should have walked away the moment. Jessica told me, blood is different than whatever this is. The moment she said maybe she should give Derek another chance. The moment she never defended my role in Mia's life or set boundaries with her daughter's rejection. These weren't just red flags. They were goddamn alarm bells. And I ignored them because I wanted a family so badly. 3 months later, Derek was sentenced to 6 months in jail for violating his restraining order. Jessica had to get a new one because he had been harassing both her and his new ex-girlfriend. Mia was apparently asking about me, confused about why good Connor had disappeared while Daddy, who makes mommy cry, kept coming back. But by then, I was already dating someone new, and the difference was night and day. Final update: it has been almost a year since I walked out of Jessica's house. And I wanted to give you guys a final update since so many of you have been following this story. A lot has happened. And I learned some things about myself that I think other guys in similar situations should know. He served 4 months of his 6-month sentence and got out on good behavior. Within 2 weeks of his release, he was arrested again, this time for trying to break into Jessica's house at 2 a.m. Apparently, he had been drinking and decided he wanted to see his family. Jessica called the cops immediately, which was progress, I guess. Derek's now serving a year for stalking and violation of a protective order. His parental rights are being reviewed by the state. Jessica finally realized what everyone else could see. Derek was never going to change, and he was never going to be safe around Mia. As for Jessica, she kept trying to reach out to me for about 6 months. Cards, letters, showing up at places she knew I would be. Always the same message. "You were right. I am sorry, can we try again?" I never responded. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because I realized something important. Being right doesn't mean being compatible. Even if Jessica had completely moved on from Derek, we still had fundamental differences in how we handled relationships and parenting. She was someone who needed to learn from painful mistakes, rather than listening to advice. I am someone who tries to avoid obvious problems before they become painful mistakes. That is just incompatible worldviews. The therapy helped me understand that I had been attracted to the idea of saving Jessica and Mia from their situation. I wanted to be the hero who rescued them from the bad guy. That is not healthy for anyone involved. Real relationships should be partnerships between equals, not rescue missions. About 5 months ago, I met Sarah. She is a divorced mom of 2 boys, 7 and 10. The difference in how she handles her situation versus how Jessica handled hers is striking. Sarah's ex-husband is actually a decent guy who just wasn't compatible with marriage. They co-parent effectively, split expenses fairly, and put their kids first without drama. When Sarah introduced me to her boys, she was clear about boundaries and expectations. Connor is mommy's boyfriend. He is not trying to replace your dad, but I expect you to treat him with respect. The boys were curious but polite. No screaming about real daddies or loyalty conflicts. Sarah never talks badly about her ex to the kids, but she also doesn't romanticize their past relationship. When her oldest asked why mommy and daddy got divorced, she said, "Sometimes grown-ups realize they are better as friends than as married people. That doesn't mean anyone did anything wrong." This is what healthy single parenting looks like. Clear boundaries, honest communication, and putting the kids' emotional well-being first. No trauma bonding, no using kids as emotional weapons, no keeping hope alive for reconciliation that isn't going to happen. We have been together 8 months now, and it has been everything my relationship with Jessica wasn't: peaceful, honest, stable. Sarah's boys actually ask me to help with homework and come to my softball games. Not because they are trying to replace their dad, but because they have learned they can care about multiple adults without it being a betrayal. Last month, Sarah told me she loves me and could see us getting married someday. Not like I was competing with a ghost or trying to prove myself worthy. That is the difference between dating someone who is emotionally available and dating someone who is still trauma bonded to their past. Some people aren't ready for healthy relationships, and that is not your problem to fix. I learned the difference between being needed and being wanted. Jessica needed me for stability and support, but she wanted Derek, as a partner in person, not as a solution to her problems. As for Mia, I hope she is learning better relationship patterns, and that Derek's absence gives her space to heal. But I also know that trying to save her from her mother's bad choices would have destroyed me in the process. That is my story. Thanks to everyone who gave advice and shared their own experiences. It helped more than you know.